Once upon a time, there was a kind and caring teacher named Mrs. Wilson. She loved her job and always tried to teach her students not only lessons from books, but also lessons about life. One day, she decided to give her students a special assignment. Today, she said with a warm smile, I want all of you to write down one wish you have. It can be anything you truly want, something that's important to you. The children were excited. They loved the idea of sharing their wishes. Some whispered to their friends about what they were going to write, while others started writing quietly. After the class, the students handed in their papers. Mrs. Wilson collected the stack of wishes and took them home to read. That evening, after finishing dinner, she sat at the dining table to check the papers. Her husband, Mr. Wilson, was sitting nearby, scrolling through his phone. Her father-in-law and mother-in-law were in the living room, each busy on their own phones. Mrs. Wilson began reading the papers. The wishes made her smile. One child wanted a new puppy, another wished for a magical flying car, and one even wrote about wanting to be a superhero. The wishes were full of imagination and fun. But as she read the next paper, her smile slowly disappeared. Her eyes filled with tears. She put the paper down, unable to stop herself from crying. Mr. Wilson noticed her sadness and asked, "What's wrong, dear? Why are you crying?" Without saying anything, Mrs. Wilson picked up the paper and began to read aloud. "My wish is that mobile phones should go far away from my house. Every day when I come home from school, Grandpa is busy on his phone. Grandma is also busy with her phone. I think I'll play or talk to someone, but no one talks to me. My sister is always on her phone. My dad comes home from work, finishes his tasks, and immediately picks up his phone. Even my mum, when she comes home after school, doesn't talk. To me, she uses her phone too. Nobody talks to me. So my wish is that mobile phones should go far away from my house. If that isn't possible, then I want to learn magic. I wish I could become a mobile phone. I want to be the mobile phone that Grandpa holds all the time. I want to be the mobile phone Grandma cares about so much. I want to be the mobile phone my sister spends all her time with. I want to be the mobile phone my dad picks up as soon as he comes home. I want to be the mobile phone that everyone pays attention to. This is my wish." As she finished reading, tears rolled down her cheeks. Mr. Wilson looked shocked. "Who wrote this?" he asked softly. Mrs. Wilson examined the handwriting closely. Her heart sank. This is Ben's handwriting," she said. Ben was their 8-year-old son. They called Ben, who was in his room, quietly playing with his toys. When he came to the living room, Mrs. Wilson showed him the paper. "Ben, did you write this?" she asked gently. Ben nodded, looking down. "Yes, Mom. It's how I feel. When I come home, everyone is busy with their phones. Nobody talks to me. I feel like I don't matter to anyone." Hearing this, the entire room fell silent. Grandpa and Grandma put down their phones, guilt written all over their faces. Grandpa spoke first. "We didn't realize how much we were ignoring you, Ben. I'm so sorry," Grandma added. "You're more important than anything on these phones. We'll do better. I promise." Mr. Wilson hugged Ben tightly. "You're absolutely right, son. We've been wrong. From now on, we'll spend more time together as a family." Mrs. Wilson, wiping her tears, said, "Ben, thank you for sharing your feelings with us. You've taught us a very important lesson today." That evening, the Wilson family kept their phones aside. They sat together, played board games, shared these stories, and laughed like they hadn't in a long time. For the first time in weeks, Ben felt truly happy. From that day on, the Wilson family made a new rule: no phones during family time. They realized how precious these moments were and promised to never let technology come between them again. Devices like phones can connect us to the world, but they should never disconnect us from our loved ones. True happiness comes from spending time together as a family.